15th meeting of the Arts Commission to order, and Heather Stobo is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Thank you, Heather.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okie dokie. Okie dokie.
Are you?
Mr. McCreary, we should please do a roll call. It's on. Are we? It doesn't feel like it's on, does it?
No, it doesn't look.
Oh,
there we go.
It fooled me.
Roll call for Commissioner Stobo.
Here.
Commissioner Conrad.
Here.
Commissioner Hirsch.
Here.
Commissioner Harmon.
Here.
Vice Chair Addison.
Here.
And Chair Golden.
Present.
Commissioner Moore is absent.
Yes.
And we also have our Mayor, Carlin Strobel, is present as the City Council liaison.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so we'll see here that we have no presentations and no public comment that I can see. So we're going to move right to approval of the April 26th special meeting minutes.
There's one correction on the second page under Vision of Future, and it's Commissioner Conrad.
Any other comments or corrections to the minutes? We have a few more minutes, everybody, to look at those. Can we have a motion then to approve the minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes as with the correction.
And a second?
Second here.
Okay, all those in favor? Or I should say discussion? None? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, opposed? Okay, so the minutes will stand corrected as read. All right, let's go on now to, right away to our committee reports and action items. And Barbara, we're going to get a report from you on what's going on with Arts Ojai.
I've been doing some research on the Art 21 series that we're going to be presenting in the fall, and they have a lot of support material which we'll be able to use, and I'd like to possibly have, not at every performance, but maybe 3 times a year, have a panel in association with the films. This year, they've put together a whole new series of 4 pieces, 4-hour-long shows, and we'll be using those to start off the year with.
Oh, how exciting.
It's Series 7.
Series 7.
Yeah.
Are those visible on the website?
Not yet.
And we're starting that back up in the fall, just to remind everybody, in October?
October 11th and November 8th.
October 11th and November 8th. And we really, really would love everyone to note those 2 dates, because it's really helpful when our own commissioners are present, as many of us as possible. And, just once a month, we call it Second Saturday. Colette has given us the theater gratis, so please come. It's really amazing to watch these on the big screen. Very different than watching it on TV at home. So we encourage everybody to come. And we'll be doing some publicity on that. Okay. Anything else from Arts Ojai? Okay, we're going to move right on then to the Artist Student Mentor Program and get an update from Michael.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We had a large turnout of artists applying for the program. I think we had 11 artists apply. Wonderful range, everything from musicians, sculptors, visual artists. We chose, after some discussion, the 4 artists who in turn have happily agreed to participate. And I should say 5 artists, even though we only had 4 slots, and I'll explain that in a moment. The artists that we've chosen are Gail Hersher, who works in mosaics, Jimmy Cleary, the musician that we all know and love here in Ojai, with a fantastic resume and set of skills. Kyle Crowner, who will be working in fabric arts, everything from quilting to clothing design. And then 2 artists have generously agreed to share the 4th one, and that is Linda Taylor and Elise Pogowski-Harris. Linda with her emphasis upon printmaking, but also drawing, and then Elise Pogowski-Harris with drawing and painting as well. So they are going to be working with some lucky students, so that student will get an incredible hit. So that's where we are as far as the artists are concerned. I'll come back to one other aspect of that in a moment. We are now soliciting applications for the students for the program, and Heather, God bless you, has put together the application form for students online. So now we can just point students to that. We're not going to have to deal with paper. It's all going to be online, so the members of the committee will be able to review the material. And it's a very clean, crisp application form that the students can connect with. I have met with the music class with Bill Wagner at Nordhoff High School, and I'm meeting with both the ceramics class and the art classes, this is juniors and seniors, on Friday at Nordhoff High School. So by the end of the week, and then I've sent out notices to some of the private schools as well, in case there are any actual residents of Ojai, not boarders, who might be interested. The deadline for the students will be the end of the month. We will then have the interviews on a Saturday, and the artists have been informed of those of that upcoming time, so they've all agreed to be available on that Saturday. And by the beginning of June, we will have chosen the artists and the students, and they will then get together and begin to do their work for the summer. And I think, again, in November, when we have our celebration of that program and display of the students' work, we're going to see something very special. And again, we'll have a performance, just as we did with the young actor who'd worked with John Slade last time. This time we'll have a young musician who's worked with Jimmy Cleary at that reception. There's one other kicker, and that is, as I said, we had some extraordinary applications, and there's one that it was just almost a toss of a coin that he didn't get chosen to be a part of the program. And we talked about, and I'll let Barbara explain this further, the possibility of squeezing a little more money out, especially now that the Education Foundation has doubled its contribution from $750 last year to $1,500 this year. The artist in question is Norman Clayton, who is a master letterpress printer. Any of you who've seen the recent things that have been printed and given out as keepsakes at various special museum functions, for example, have seen some of his work. He's been exhibited widely. He's keen to do it. He has a studio in Miners Oaks, but we need to get the permission of this commission, to take some of the money out of the donations we got at the Art 21 series last year, which was earmarked for student scholarships, so it would be appropriate. And I think you had identified another source.
Well, we were thinking that possibly, we had $350 in donations from the Art 21 films that are part of our art fund. And we were hoping that we could present to you the possibility of using $650 additional funds to fund another artist mentor program.
Did you have an idea of where that $650 would?
From the public art fund that we have.
Oh, from the public art fund. I'm
Yes,
sorry, I missed
and
that.
that fund is right now at $16,200.
All right, does somebody want to make a motion, and then we'll get a second, and we can discuss that?
Well,
I would,
I don't think you should be taking action on that. It's not on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
And it's a changing of the budget, and
Okay.
I think
So
it's,
can we put that on the agenda for the next meeting, so we can all
Absolutely.
think about that
Let's
and come
do
back
that.
to that? Okay, so let's put that on the agenda for the next meeting. We'll come back. I'll have an opportunity to think over that. I think we all know what we're going to say.
and-
I have a question about agendas.
Mhm.
Isn't that just part of the committee workings?
Yes, but you're asking for a specific action to be taken by the commission as opposed to just giving an update.
see.
And so because it's an action item, normally we try to put down the specific action items on the agenda, and in a lot of the cases, it's just an update from the committee. And so that's what you're notifying then to the public, that, well, they're just giving an update, not necessarily taking an action or direction, but
Okay,
I think we might also, and I'm sorry if I'm being overly cautious with this, but I think we should probably double check the uses that are allowed in the public art fund. Clearly, the money that was raised through the Art 21 is just under the discretion of the Arts Commission. In fact, as you clearly stated, the original intent was to support the Student Artist Mentor Program, so I don't think there's any question that if the commission wanted to use that fund, that could be allocated towards that. But I think we should check the public art fund, because I don't know what restrictions that has in terms of how that can be allocated.
so Steve, can you come back to us at
Of
the next
course.
meeting with a report on whether or not we're able to do that?
I can come back to you with the report in the next agenda packet so that you have that in
All right.
advance.
And then I also want to ask Michael if not having an answer on this until the June meeting will still work. Do you feel that you can bring this fifth artist in as late as the end of June?
I'd have to discuss that with him, but I suspect so.
Okay.
He's very keen to do it. He's done a lot of this sort of individual teaching
Okay.
with apprentices and interns and things of that order.
Okay.
And because there's a significant element of craft involved, he's very committed to that people who work with him learn the craft so that they can do the art.
Well, and the commission, as another option, could call for a special meeting in between now and the next regular meeting if there's a timeliness question there.
Well, I
Just
think
as
I would
long
leave
as-
that to Michael if he feels that he wants to move it along faster and gather us all together.
I hate to do that to everybody, but let me talk with the
Okay.
artist and get a response from him in terms of timing.
And then you
I'll
would
get back to you.
communicate that to Steve.
Yep.
And he would, where appropriate, let commissioners know. So Michael will let you know if the artist can wait or whether we have to have that special meeting.
Yeah, and technically, the person who could call the special meeting would be you, the chair, so we
Right,
would
right.
need to pull you
I'll
into
be in
that.
on that
Yes.
communication. And
that's clear.
I want to apologize to everybody because I did not understand that there had to be a specific item listed under committee reports for action items. I was under the assumption that whatever the committee was working on, when we gave that report, we could talk about that, but I get it totally.
We're learning.
And what I, as a result of that, would like to say to each of you is how important it is that if you have an item that we have to take action on, that you be sure you let Steve know and me know, either or both is better than either, so that we make sure, because he sends me the agenda and I take a look at what's on there and I check it up against my notes, that we know that there is something that has to be specified under your committee report. So there's another item that's going to come up tonight that I thought we could act on, that we might not be able to act on, although I will really bend your arm on that one, because there is a time issue on this one. So, my apologies to everyone on that. That's me. I missed that. So, Michael, is there anything else that you want to report on, or should we go on?
No, that's it. Thank
Okay,
you.
and let me say, oh, God, how exciting. I'm going to quit and become a high school student, because I want to work with these, every one of them. That is just delicious sounding. Wow. So kudos to both of you. Heather worked with you on that, and
Yes, indeed.
yeah, and Barbara.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, City Gallery, and that's Heather.
Well, I just want to announce the new show that Roger and Mimi installed this weekend. That looks great. If you guys haven't gone down to look at it, it really does look terrific. It's Pamela Grau and Jeff Kressel. And when, I'm not quite sure when the opening is, actually, the reception.
It'll be at next month's
Okay, so come early.
commission meeting, yeah.
So come early to
Yeah,
next
I
month's
think it's
meeting so we
June
can be
19th,
part of the
I think.
reception. And that's about it.
And I believe you were going to come back with a recommendation from your committee on the future of City Gallery? And you have
Yes,
an opportunity to do that?
I would like to table that discussion until we have a chance to meet. So I'm hoping to address that the next meeting.
Okay. If that is going to be something that we're all going to have action on, like a vote, be sure that you let us know so that on the next agenda, it will be
Duly noted.
ferreted out so that we can actually vote on your recommendation, accept it or whatever, or at least, is that right? I got it now? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and you're next, public art, unless Heather, there's more, I'm sorry. Okay, public art.
This is just the update to the, it's item 8D in your packet on page 9. There is no new information on there. We still have the other two projects are still on there as pending for Mallory Way and the Craftsman Village. There's no new information on City Gallery sales, so that number is still the same. We've got about $16,200 in the Public Art Fund, just as FYI.
Thank you for that.
And I think we had talked about what we had in the Public Art Fund last time. We've got about $1,200 in there. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on the project list or the budget. Oh, I got ahead of myself and wasn't supposed to do the budget there. Sorry.
Barbara?
Is there a time limit for these projects?
I'll start at the bottom because I see the answer. For the Craftsman Village,
Oh,
the
yeah.
city council approved a one-year time extension for that project. And if I'm reading this correctly, that was done on March 2nd of 2014. So that's what they're operating under right now. The Mallory Way, I don't know what their, what timeline or deadline they're facing. It indicates that they're waiting for a final track map to be submitted. I'd be happy to check with community development to see if there's a looming deadline on that before it expires or goes in or changes its state. So I'd be happy to check on that, Commissioner Hirsch.
Okay, thank you. One other thing on public art. I have visited a few of our public art sites to look at the labeling because I want to complete anything that's not completed before the end of June. So I've been starting to track that. It's really hard to get our committee together and do this work. But we have several projects that we're going to be working on. That's it.
Anything else on public art that needs to be said? Okay. Oops. Roger, do you have anything that you need to tell us about art grants?
Yes, I'm going to pass this around. Gay Jones had her first presentation at the Art Center on her grant, and this was Ojai Legends. And they basically portrayed, it was a theatrical production where they had different high school students portraying different Ojai legends. So it was really quite a marvelous event. And then they're also going to present to various teachers at the grammar school and junior high level. And so I want to give kudos to Gay Jones and John Hoy and Cindy Israel for the work they did on those students and also completing their grant.
And where are we in the process of the next round of grants?
Well, we'll be having a meeting soon to review, as we always do, the form for that and the application. So, but I haven't called that yet.
Okay, but that's coming along.
Yeah,
'cause
it's coming.
It really starts up in June and goes through July and August
Yeah,
and whatever.
right.
Okay, all right, I thought so. Michael?
I had passed on to me, and I should have passed it on to you at the beginning of the meeting. John Slade has also completed his grant project, and I think most of you may have already seen it on the web, but there is a DVD which we can now circulate that shows his work with students in the classroom, getting them to sing Walt Whitman. It's quite wonderful, so
Wow.
pass it around, down to Roger at any rate.
So this is the same one that was already on the web?
Yes, yes, it is, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Whew. Roger, is that all then?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Then we're going to go to Linda Harmon. Anything we need to know about public relations?
We're just working, Heather and I have gotten it worked out where she's going over a lot of the pages and uploading them and changing them to design a little bit. We're freshening it up, and she's making it load a lot faster, which I wasn't able to do, which I'm very excited about. Besides that, we worked on the press release for the Lifetime Achievement. That's ready to go. Steve's going to have that out. And I guess that's it. And I will work on the one for the mentor program when I get the information.
You'll get it.
And as always, thank you for keeping the public informed of our goings on. You know, I'll also point out that this last Wednesday, the piece that Mimi wrote on this current exhibit by Pam Grau and Jeffrey Kressel went into the Wednesday paper. We have a little issue with that. I didn't bring it. I'm sorry I didn't bring it so you could see it, but it looked like the show was at the museum. They picked up a byline from the first paragraph, and it read that the museum, the exhibition that's being written about is part of the rejuvenation exhibition at the museum. It's just how they picked up the byline. So just a word of caution to those of you writing the articles that you want to give a title in there when you send that over to the paper, and make sure they understand that it's City Gallery that they're writing the article for. That was no big deal error, but
The
I think
page
some
is up,
people will
right?
show up at the museum looking for that
Page is
exhibition,
up?
and it won't be there, it'll be here.
It's already uploaded? Okay. And, oh, cool.
It's this Wednesdays.
Yeah, I know.
I was just going to add, one of the things Heather did, which I think is really neat, is she added a link to the front page for the current featured artist.
Oh, nice.
So that will scroll. And we've uploaded the new page for the artists. That's done too. So people can see it there. If they don't go to, they'll know it's not the museum.
Very good. Okay, if that's it, we'll move right on to art acquisitions. And Chair Moore is not here, and she and I have met extensively and had many conversations, and she's asked me to please kind of give the report for her tonight. And this is something that I was hoping that we could take action on tonight, but we did include all the materials for the discussion, but we didn't break out that we wanted to talk about this on the agenda. So, Steve, if we go too far or we can't do this, the issue is going to be, this has to do with a donation that has come our way, and the people who are making the donation are leaving the country for good in about a week and a half, and I would like this to be off the plate of the Arts Commission before they leave, because it's a possibility that the art piece has to be picked up by them before they move. It might not be that, but this is a timely thing, and it's my error. I didn't realize that we should have the actual thing written here. I just sent you all the materials for the discussion. So, can we proceed? May we please proceed with
I,
this?
I don't think you can. And I understand the timeliness being a factor. I don't think that allows us to usurp the Brown Act unless it's truly an emergency life and property type issue.
I have a question too.
It could possibly be an urgency item because of the time limitation involved. It would have to be, you would have to have a motion to take it up as an urgency item.
I have a question.
But I don't know how many, what percentage, is it 3/4? I don't know what percentage.
I think it's 4/5, but doesn't that have to be if it's an item where there's something that has come up after the agenda was published that the body was not
Yes.
aware of, and then I think there needs to be some true emergency related to it.
Okay, well,
Maybe I'm mixing up two things there.
You are correct. Something that came up after the agenda was published, et cetera.
Right.
But it can be an emergency, which is safe and health and
Right,
safety.
right.
Or it can be urgency, in that we have a week and a half, we have to act on this. But it is, I wonder, is it anyone else here that might, is Rob here? Or
No, but I can consult, I can check my copy of the Brown Act.
what is
real
it
quick.
you want to accomplish?
Yeah, I don't,
What we want to accomplish is that we have a donation that's been given to us by individuals who are who are literally packing and leaving the country. Right now, the pieces at my house, and Linda Harmon has viewed it, and Barbara has viewed it, and Mimi Moore have viewed it. I'm standing in for Mimi on how she feels about whether we should accept this donation on behalf of the city. If we do not accept it on behalf of the city, it needs to go back to them before they move. And it's a 50-pound sculpture sitting at my house, and we cannot mail that. They're leaving the country for Peru,
I have a question too.
Chile, for Chile. So there is an urgency here, because they will be gone before our next meeting.
Christine, I have a question about the whole thing, because I got drug into it just yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
When did all this happen?
This all happened very rapidly.
What's that mean?
Did it happen?
Mimi,
Did
it happened at the
after
same.
the agenda was posted?
Yes.
Okay, Steve, does that help any?
Well, give me just a moment to read through this, and then I'll try to pull out the pertinent sections.
While Steve is reading through that, in your packet, you do have information on what I am talking about. So if you turn, you didn't put it in our packet?
You told me not to.
No, to be passed around by Mimi. Where are the sheets?
Right. Oh, shoot.
Okay, so I'm going to pass around the sheets.
Sorry.
He's going to go get them. So what you're going to get is the application that the donors filled out, and you're going to get a photograph of the piece. And what I was hoping was that you would get a recommendation from the Acquisitions Committee, who handles donations, on whether or not they feel, having vetted the piece, it should be accepted or not accepted. And then that way, if we can do that today, I can call, or actually, it should be one of the Acquisition Committee members can call and let the donors know what the decision was before they leave the country. So I think there is an emergency in this. 50 pounds to another
Urgency.
country.
Urgency is strictly because it's time sensitive, and it came up after the agenda was posted. Emergency is health and safety.
Okay, urgency.
It came up in less than 48 hours ago?
They want us to give an answer in less than 48 hours.
No, my question is vis-à-vis the posting of the agenda. The agenda had to be posted 48 hours before this meeting. So did this issue come up within the last 48 hours? No, we got this a week ago. Well, then it's not, it should have been on the agenda. We're stuck.
Again, all I can tell you is I apologize to everybody. I didn't understand that the wording had to be there that we were going to discuss this. I gave Steve all the materials. He knew we were going to discuss it, but it didn't get put on the agenda in verbal form. But all the materials had been sent to Steve. I just missed adding to my email add that to the agenda.
No, as an action item.
Now,
That's the word.
did I send the materials to him? I don't know. He'd have to look at his email, but I think it was within the last 48 hours that I sent those materials because I just got them. I mean, I've been working like a dog to prepare them because of the urgency. So, here they come.
These are the color photos as well,
Oh, thank you.
a little better to see. So,
Now, this first cover sheet, I'm going to pull off of here because that is not part of this. Things are mixed up here. No, I'm going to confuse all of you. I can just hear it. What does that mean? And it has nothing to do with this. So here you go around, and one of these. This should all be together. Where's the application, Steve? The application isn't here. There's an application that should go. So you're getting the photographs, the application, hopefully he's got that runoff, and we'll bring that to us. This is a mess. Pass down these two, so everybody get a copy of that. There you go. No, just leave those. This is a whole nother matter. This is a matter of discussing signage for donated pieces. So it's not included in this. I will tell you, can we just get them passed out so I don't have to do it 100 times?
10 extra copies.
Well, I don't know where you are, and I'm sorry, you're beating me up here. Are we on TV? Yes, to behave myself. Well, none of this is the way it should be. And the application is not here that I sent you. And this is a whole separate thing that you attached. There's an application that I sent you as well.
I printed out everything that you gave me, I thought.
We really need to have that to continue with this.
Okay, well, let me go back and double check the email then.
It's on there.
Since you have a question, Steve, before you go, since you have a question about this, could you call a special meeting for this one item? You could call it tomorrow or?
Oh, to get us all together like this
Okay.
is really a tough, especially because of people's jobs. Did you find that?
I didn't get back there, I got called back.
You didn't stick it in here, did you? No, it's not in here. We're just going to have to be patient and wait. Why don't we go ahead and see if there's other things that we can talk about with art acquisitions? For example, let's put this aside for right now, and I believe that there is the pieces by Phil Harvey. And Barbara, you're going to do that report on that, so why don't you do that while we're waiting for Steve?
We have two pieces to show you, but they're not here.
Okay.
They are at Mimi's home, and she had to leave town on an emergency. So we do have the two pieces from Phil Harvey that we would like to purchase. We can only bring them at the next meeting.
Okay.
But they're budget sensitive, so we need to make a decision before June 30.
Okay, and that would happen at our June meeting, then we would make that decision at our June meeting.
Yes.
So we will put an action item under art acquisitions for the Phil Harvey
Yes.
donations for the next meeting. I'm going to make sure I've got this right. The other item that I wanted to discuss tonight, but is no urgency on this one, is the donation policy that we currently have, and to take a look at that donation policy, and that would be an action item. So I'll make sure that that gets on as a donation, as an action item, our donation policy. And the third item that Mimi and I have talked about and we'd like to have as an action item is who will be responsible, a discussion about who will be responsible when we accept a donation, if we accept it, for the signage and for the installation. That Mimi and I felt that it was important that everyone weigh in on that because it has caused some controversy among those who have been donating to us recently, as they were told that they had to pay for the signage, and some of these folks don't have money to pay for signage, but they want to donate art. So we cannot have that discussion tonight because that's not urgent for this month, but we'll put that on for next month. So 3 action items for next month. Phil Harvey, the donation policy itself, and who would pay for a plaque and for installation on a donated item.
Isn't the installation a separate issue, the where and for how long?
It could be, and that could be brought up as well, but this very specifically is about who pays for installation if a piece is donated, who pays to have the formal signing that we do for public art if a donation
Right.
is accepted. So it's definitely the money issue in this case.
Usually, it's the person making the donation.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
also
well,
provide.
we can't have the discussion because it wasn't agendized in that way. Again, I apologize, this is totally my fault. But it will be on for next time, so we can all weigh in, and then we can take a vote on that. So we're gonna have 3, I'll give them to you later. We're gonna have 3 actionable items on art acquisitions next time. This is not including the one we want to talk about now. Those 3 can wait. This one I don't think can wait. Did you find it?
Well, this is what you sent me. So there's the email and the attachments.
Okay, so it's not down at the bottom of that page, because I did attach it. And I wrote at the top that there was
What's the date of the email?
how many attachments there were, so you could make sure you found them.
Christine, what's the date on the email? What is the date on the email?
May 9th, on the email,
And it could have been on the agenda.
Friday, May 9th, is when I sent him the photos of the sculpture and the application, which you haven't found for some reason.
I don't see that it can be taken up as an urgency item either. I'm pulling city clerk stuff on you here.
This is a totally separate thing.
That's what was
Since I'm
attached.
pulling city clerk stuff on you here, I would recommend you take a look at how you're creating your agenda. Because trying to combine committee reports and action item, I think is going to continue to be confusing. You should have committee reports which does suggest no action. And then you should have, you can call it discussion items. Whether they're on your report to update or not. If there's something specific you need to do, it needs to be listed as a discussion item. Or
Discussion or action?
a discussion, because you may or may not take action.
Gotcha. But if it's listed as a discussion
But
item,
if
we
it's a discussion
have
item,
that option.
absolutely, yes, as
Okay.
long as it is agendized as such. And if you have an idea of what you would like to do, you can have the item and then a recommendation.
Oh, wow, okay. Okay.
So that way the
So the
public,
discussion item may include a recommendation.
yes.
Do you feel strongly which should come first, committee reports and then discussion items, or discussion items and then committee reports? Does it matter?
Committee report, but it should only be discussed one place. So if a specific committee report includes an issue that you want to discuss or take action on, that should all be under the agendized heading.
Gotcha. So it would make sense then to do discussion items first and then committee reports. so that there wouldn't be
Either
any,
way.
any possibility of mistakenly discussing a discussion item under a committee report.
Well, just as we have in the beginning of the agenda for the city council, we have a commission reports.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot take action. The council cannot take action on anything that is reported.
Right.
Because it's just a report, it's just an update, it's not agendized. And the reason that's so essential is the public has a right to know what you intend to do. And that explains the recommendation. It doesn't have to be, look at a city council agenda.
Okay.
I mean, even if it says Arts Commission minutes of XX, underneath it'll say receive and file. That's an action, but it's the council doesn't approve your minutes. All it does is receive and file.
Right.
So the recommendation can be art donation, consider acceptance.
Gotcha.
You want it a little fuller
Gotcha.
than that.
Yeah, I got.
You
So,
want to
Mr.
identify
McClary, I would ask that you and I, and perhaps Vice Chair Addison, if he's available, to meet and really let's figure out how we're going to do this agenda in a way that will complement the Brown Act and transparency, and so that we have things, so we're able to do what we need to do at our meetings. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's quite clear.
Okay. All right. So, Michael, if you're
Question.
able, you could meet
Yes,
with
I
the
am.
three of us. Good.
Question. Our agenda says committee reports and action items.
Yes.
Well,
but-
once
so
again,
you're
I
saying
always
just-
thought that
Just,
covered
But-
it.
just
but-
separate them.
All right, A, B, C, D, which one is it you want to take an action on? Give me the letter.
G.
Okay. What G says is purchase of artworks committee update.
Right.
There's no mention of.
It doesn't say anything about the donation on there. Right.
See, and that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
It is on the agenda,
Yeah,
but it
I got it.
isn't, okay.
I got it. So in other words, the public would have no way of knowing that tonight we
Correct.
were discussing whether to accept or not accept a donation, and that was in violation of the Brown Act, which is calling for transparency. So I
Correct.
totally understand where you're coming from. And we will fix this, we will get this right. In the meantime, we only need 4 to meet, and I really would like to call a special meeting. I think the whole thing will take 15 minutes, quite frankly, so that if we are not going to accept this sculpture, it will go back to the donor. It's a 50-pound sculpture. I don't think, who is going to afford to mail that to Chile?
Can I say something here? I don't like being put over a barrel about doing this donation thing. It already happened once, and that was agendized, and we took care of it with a special meeting. I don't like to have this, I mean, I didn't know anything about this until yesterday at about, I don't remember, 4 o'clock. I just think this is, it's what Mimi said, it's bad precedent here. This is just not, I don't think anybody should expect to get an answer within a week when, just because they're leaving for Chile. That's nice they want to do something, but to expect everybody to jump through hoops to get it done in that amount of time is just, I'm sorry, I think it's preposterous.
Well, I really want to make it clear that this is not the donor who is pushing. This is me. It's at my house. It weighs 50 pounds, and I would like to get it, what's going to happen to this
Resolved.
thing? Because it's going to fall on me to pay, I don't know how much money to transport that thing.
No, why?
Let me give
Well,
you
what
a
am I gonna do with it if they've
recommendation.
left the country?
Let me give you a recommendation. How about if you give Steve, what's today? Thursday.
15th.
Are you here tomorrow? Yes. I would recommend you give Steve the opportunity to talk with the city manager, possibly the city attorney, give them the situation and see what the best solution is, if there is a best solution. If that's a public meeting, I mean, you can't agendize it to make a difference overnight anyway, so tomorrow would be as good as tonight, and then you can go from there. See if there's an easier way to do it. If there isn't, see if you can do it by special meeting.
Well, that's what I'm asking, is if everybody would be willing to meet for 15 minutes and, look at the application, look at the piece. The acquisitions committee that handles donations, all three, Mimi, Barbara, Linda, have seen the piece. I believe all three of them have a feeling about it and a recommendation. In the past, we have always gone with our committee's recommendation, so it's just a matter of allowing them to present their recommendation and their reasons for their recommendation, and the rest of us nodding to that. That's all we need to do at this point.
One more comment. Aren't you guys glad I show up? I just talk.
Yes, thank goodness.
There's also a time requirement even for a special meeting.
Yes, I know, it has
Is it
48
24
hours.
hours?
24.
Posted tomorrow, you're talking about Monday anyway.
But it's
So just
before they
keep-
leave.
Well, the soonest you could have a special meeting would be Monday.
Yes, and that would be before they leave. We have a couple weeks that we could hold it within a couple weeks.
I'm
and
sorry,
we
I
would
misheard you.
hit their time frame. And again, they're not putting any pressure on this. This is me, because I know, I'm looking ahead at if they're already gone.
But it,
Well, you have seen the piece. Barbara's seen the piece. Mimi has seen the piece. You have feelings on
can
how
we,
you feel about it.
it wouldn't be appropriate for us to say one way or the other
No,
how we
not
recommend
now.
now?
No.
Okay. All I can say is I think it's, the whole situation is not, hasn't been dealt very clearly, and I'm not comfortable with it at all, the whole situation. I mean, I don't know how you got the statue, but I just think it's convoluted.
How I got the statue was I was attempting to help out Mimi, whose daughter is quite ill, and she had to go down to L.A. Her daughter was in the hospital. She's now out, and that's why she's not here tonight. And Mimi is feeling really badly that she can't follow through on her responsibilities and asked me if I would step in. And the only way to have an opportunity for you to see the statue and Barbara to see the statue and Mimi to see the statue was, I had a friend of mine, and we took out to dinner afterwards to thank him, because it's 50 pounds, lug that thing over to my house. So I was only trying to do something to help the situation, to grease the wheels and to move it along. It all falls on me. Nobody else should be at blame for this. This was my
I'm just-
idea to try to get this taken
Okay,
care of.
well, perhaps in Steve's discussions tomorrow, we could prevail upon Public Works to pick it up, to bring it into City Hall.
Could we?
So that the,
No, I have to
So
speak
the
up, because I
commission-
think then there's even more of a sense of our being railroaded into a
Okay.
decision. I understand, I've heard several times it weighs 50 pounds. That, it seems to me, should not be a major issue here. I understand, although you haven't spoken up fully yet, that you have serious reservations, Linda, about this. And I think the fact that Mimi isn't here and that Linda has reservations, that's 2 out of 3 members of the committee. I think it should be postponed and dealt with at our next regular meeting and have time to sort this out. And in the interim, you and Mimi have the responsibility, because you've undertaken the responsibility, to figure out how to deal with the damn thing. Excuse me.
So,
How to deal with the 50-pound sculpture.
Yes. So, Carlin, that's fantastic. Can that happen? Can Public Works come pick that up and bring it over here?
Steve can ask.
Could that happen? And have it stored back in the room where we have some other art?
I can make the request, I don't know if we can make it happen tomorrow or not.
Oh, it doesn't have to happen tomorrow.
Okay.
Just if it happens at all.
I repeat what I just said. I would object to that. I think that puts enormous pressure on us. Public Works having moved it having been stored at City Hall, that puts enormous pressure on us as a commission to accept this work of art. And all we've seen is a couple of grainy photographs, and we know that the chair of the committee isn't here tonight, and that one member of the committee has reservations. I think to take that action would,
Can't they just take
Unfairly
it back?
weigh the
Why
outcome.
can't you just say, please, come pick it up? We'll agendize it.
I don't understand how it puts any pressure on us if it's stored here as opposed to being stored at my house. It's stored here. We can take months if we want to act on it. We don't have to act on it quickly just because it's over here.
and if
But if
we
it's at
decide-
my house, I feel the responsibility falls on me to caretake this sculpture. I do not want it at my house. It shouldn't, it only was there to try to make it convenient for you to come and see it. And I'm, believe me, sorry that I did that to help out, because it sure doesn't sound like it was a help.
Is there
So
a
I
reason
would
they
really
can't,
appreciate it if it could be stored over here instead of at my
speaking.
house.
is there a reason you can't have them pick it up? The people that want to donate it?
Well, yes, they both, one of them broke her wrist, and it's not me, but as it would be, her wrist is broken, and she cannot lift it. And he fell down when they were in Chile and hurt his back. So that is why I asked a friend of mine to go and pick it up.
I'm going to hop in there one more time. I'm taking over, I'm subbing for Severa. We'll have him back next time. And I'm going to say this. Public art, I would rather see it live and in person. I would rather Steve ask if we can pick it up, so that when it's time to decide to accept or reject, I would like to know that the public has also had the opportunity to see it and to comment.
Well, I think what Linda is saying is the procedure is that the Art Acquisitions Committee, which is Mimi Moore and Linda Harmon and Barbara Hirsch, vet the piece and come back to us with a recommendation on whether or not to accept it. The vetting has been done. They've, all three of them, seen the piece. I emailed Linda the application. I know that she got that.
So,
You never got that either? Okay.
so the subcommittee is 3 members,
3 members.
and all 3 have recommended
All
acceptance?
3 have seen it. We are not allowed to say tonight whether they recommend it or not.
No, but
We can't do
the
that.
subcommittee can make a recommendation. The subcommittee has an obligation to say, we recommend that you consider this. If the subcommittee is silent,
Right, but we're back to the issue with it not being on the agenda for
and I'm
this
backing
meeting.
out of here now.
That's the issue.
A recommendation is not an action item, is it? I mean, if we're recommending something, we're not taking action. Is that correct?
So confusing.
All right. The subcommittee is not a majority of the commissioners. You do not have a quorum. So a subcommittee can give you recommendations. It doesn't, but it still has to be agendized for this commission to take action.
Okay, so can we recommend and then they can have an action next time they meet?
If that's on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda, this donation, on this agenda.
Carlin, are you saying that we can make a recommendation at this meeting and act on it at the next meeting when it's agendized on the next agenda?
That's really
I-
right on the edge.
I think the only thing that the body's permitted to discuss at this point is whether or not to place it on a future meeting and then to determine what that date would be. If it was on the agenda, you could discuss it, you could discuss recommendation, you could take an action, you could, not take an action. But I think you're limited at this point, just discussing whether or not to bring it forward on a future agenda and what that action might be, and not then get into the merits of it,
Well, if the subcommittee viewed it and decided
right?
one way of action or another,
Uh-huh.
we wouldn't need to bring it to the next meeting then.
Sure you would.
Yes, you would.
Just a report, right?
Well, unless the commission, I don't think they've had, has given specific authority to that committee to make that decision on behalf of the majority of the commission, I don't believe that's the process. I think the understanding is that the committee is supposed to do a work on a recommendation and then bring that forward, place that on an agenda, and then the entire commission can then have a discussion and take an action on the recommendation of the committee.
See, even the subcommittee's recommendation should be an agendized item,
Right.
and it isn't. G is purchase of artwork committee update.
And if it had said,
Subcommittee
receive
recommendation.
recommendation on donation.
if it had said the subcommittee's recommendation on donation.
Then we could have done it.
And it were placed on the agenda as a discussion item, then you can act.
Gotcha. Then we could have taken action as well. Okay.
Barbara.
Yes, if it were agendized.
In our donation and loan procedure, it says that, in the third paragraph, provide as much information as will be helpful to the committee in making a recommendation. Once the application is received by the Acquisitions Committee, it will review the details and make a recommendation to the full 7-member Arts Commission.
Yes.
So we wouldn't have been able to do that tonight anyway, because all 7 of us are not here.
Oh. It should say a majority. It should say quorum.
Yeah,
It shouldn't say 7, it should say quorum.
I think she put
Well, it doesn't
There
have to
is a-
say
there is a
majority
reason.
if you have established policies that recommendations must be heard before the full,
This is a new donation policy.
It's a new donation policy, and it was put in there because there was acceptance of a donation by 3 or 4 people one time, and we didn't think that was appropriate, and we didn't think the donation was acceptable.
okay, and we're together there so far. My only question would be, do you truly want to say all 7 members, or do you want to say a majority? Because there is an instance where you might have a vacancy.
But a majority is 4 of us, right?
We
I think
wanted
it
the
should
full.
say- It should
That
say
was
majority.
It was,
It could say full Arts Commission, it doesn't have to mention a number.
Correct.
How about
Yeah,
that?
there you go.
That'll cover both.
Okay. So that should get edited in to be full. How did you
Right.
say it, Linda? Because that was good. Full commission.
Full Arts
Arts
Commission.
right. Okay.
All right, so just to kind of wrap up, at the next meeting, so Linda, so make sure that you're on board with this too, in agreement. At the next meeting for art acquisitions, we're going to have discussion items, the Phil Harvey donation, the donation policy itself that is new and needs to be reviewed, the specific language that refers to the plaque and who pays for it and who pays for the installation if something is donated, so we all can weigh in on that, and the Weiner donation. There will be 4 discussion items under art acquisitions at the next committee meeting. The sculpture, Carlin, you will work with me and Steve and see if we can't get that
No,
over here.
I'm
Out of my
here.
house.
Your council liaison is Severo Lara, and I'm here as substitute, and it is 100% working with Steve.
Okay, so Steve, you will work with me on seeing if we can get someone to pick that up, and that way,
I could
is it
even carry 50
possible for
pounds.
anybody here who is curious before our June meeting, they can come and look at it? Or you can wait and look at it at the June meeting, right? That makes sense to everybody? Okay. And I am turning the whole matter back to Mimi. I don't want anything ever again to do with the acquisitions.
But we won't need to involve Public Works.
No good deed shall go unpunished.
I can carry 50 pounds unassisted.
Okay, but I am going to have to stop in there. If we leave it at your house,
Pardon me?
to leave the sculpture at your house, and then to invite the commission members to your house, you would also need to allow the public.
Oh, this was one-on-one. This was just, no, they didn't come as a group. This is
But you
the
have just
3-member,
invited them as a
this is the
group.
3-member committee. No, no,
Okay.
no, I'm not, it's going to be over here. They can come and visit here. Right? Is that okay? Okay. Not at my house. Out of my house. Okay. Anybody else want anything to say about art acquisitions? Barbara? Linda?
Do I dare?
Awards.
Can I just pass out some information? Since I don't know when's the best place to do it. I just wanted to hand out the information that we did receive from Martin Elsa and Richard Franklin regarding the Peace Poll. I know that had been requested, and I wanted to make sure everybody had a copy of that. I've also emailed a copy of this to Commissioner Moore. There's just one sheet there.
Thank you.
And for those who didn't catch it, it was approved by the City
Okay.
Council.
I just realized we didn't report on that. We needed to do that. Mimi wasn't here, so should I do it?
Sure.
Okay. I'm not really, I guess I'll just, after our special meeting last month, I guess it was, and when we met with Marta and the team on donating the Peace Pole, then we walked, Mimi, Barbara, and I, who are on the Acquisitions Committee, were requested to walk over and locate a site. And after looking at the scope of the project and how large it was and the placement, we found a spot that we think is going to be perfect for it. And that is, you can't see it from here, you would have to go in the back. There's a triangular piece of property just as you're entering into the back garden there. So we wanted to put that at the entrance of the back garden. And it's kind of, do we want to talk about that yet?
Well,
No. We have a future plan for the back garden that we're just starting to flesh out. I emailed Steve about it, right? Didn't I email you?
But I
Yeah,
think
you told me to
you're-
keep it
you're
under
allowed
wraps,
to tell
so.
us what that is.
Well, we just haven't really gone into the details on it yet, but we feel that it's a very appropriate place. It's good, it's a place where people can gather, which they requested. It'll be sort of the focal point for you walking into the garden. So I think it's going to be a great place for it. I think they'll be real happy. And I talked to Marta briefly about it and told her I thought we found a good spot. So we're very grateful to have the piece, and we're glad everything's working out. So that was my report.
Yes. And I do not know if it was heard, as Steve said, that City Council approved this at the meeting Tuesday. So,
I knew I was very familiar with this, and I just couldn't quite remember why, and that's because it was on
Was-
Tuesday's agenda.
yeah, it was on your consent agenda, so it went right through, yeah. And the donor, Hazel and Marta, did come to the meeting, but before the action happened on your consent calendar, the sun began to descend, and they had to leave because they can't drive at night. But they were here. Very sweet. Okay, awards. Michael.
Nothing to report except that the City Council at the last meeting did approve our recommendation that Khaled Anwar be given the Lifetime Achievement Award. And my task now, reminded of this by Steve yesterday, I think it was, is to contact Khaled and offer him the option of which of the upcoming City Council meetings he would prefer to have the honor presented. And that's where we stand.
Thank you, Michael. Budget update. Mr. McClary, you wanted to review the monthly budget report, or?
I
we all-
jumped ahead on that somehow when I got into the public art, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And that's on page 15, I believe?
It is.
So lifetime achievement, there's 100% of that budget still there. Arts Ojai, 100% still there. 67% still there for art acquisition. So imagine those numbers are going to be changing rapidly as we approach June and the end of June.
I'd like to request that this is put in another format. I mean, an additional column, and that is the amount of money left in each account.
Sure.
Okay?
That's easy to
Because
do.
I read this quickly, and I thought that we had $875.19 left in the art acquisition budget, but in reality, we have $1,774.81, and, you know, that makes a big difference. So just to alleviate any confusion, I think that would be a good column to have.
Great idea. Okay. All righty, and then I would like Steve to tell us when the budget will come up when the Arts Commission's budget will come up for consideration at City Council, because I'm encouraging all of you to please be at this meeting. I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. McClary, that staff is recommending last year's budget amount and not the one that we've put forth.
Well, I think that's maybe a not quite an accurate spin.
Good.
The city manager has as terms of the commission funding, he presents his budget recommendation with those showing the amounts unchanged, basically at the same funding level as last year. And then for the process of going through the budget, we're inviting commissions then to make presentations to the city council for them to hear that. And then it's up to the city council to determine what level of funding they would like to go in there. So it's not so much that the city manager has taken a negative position on it. I'd say it's more that there's a neutral position at this point, with the invitation for the discussion and the presentation for the city council to consider and make that decision.
Is that true for all commission budgets or just our commission budget?
All commission.
Well, yeah, they're a little different in terms of the way they work, but yeah.
Okay.
And I wanted to comment, there'll be a series of budget meetings, and forgive me for having this in my cheek while I'm talking. There'll be a series of budget meetings. It was agendized for Tuesday night. We ran out of time, and so the budget will be presented by the city manager at the next city council meeting. So, and there's a schedule, I believe it was in the packet.
So I believe we had already indicated to the chair that we've scheduled the presentation from the Arts Commission for the May 27th meeting.
Yes, I did receive that email. That's what I'm encouraging all of you to be there, to support me from behind.
I have two questions. One, now that I don't know if we ever really answered it last time, now that we're actually pursuing getting an app done, would that be a general budget thing for the city, right? It wouldn't be coming out of the arts budget, would it?
Not unless the Arts Commission is asking for some specific application or funding.
We will be at some point when we want to we're investigating it now. Heather has been looking at different apps, and we're going to be at a point where we're going to need to invest something in a platform of some kind.
Okay.
Build it.
I don't know enough, really. I'm not sure I can really answer that question. I mean, when we talked about it, I tried to encourage you to speak with our city clerk.
Oh, yeah.
Because just to let you know that the city was looking
Right.
and considering those as far as the citywide applications at this point. And so maybe to come to be part of that discussion.
We should contact Rhonda. Rhonda?
Yeah, I would, but again, I want to be clear here. I mean, that if the commission wants something, the commission can certainly go forward with that request.
Well, I feel I need to say that we worked for 3 months on budget requests, and this was not one of them. So it's gone to the city manager, and this was not an item in there.
That's why I'm asking this question, because I don't think it should be art funds. It's an app that's going to be for the city, and it's going to include art sites. But when it comes to deciding who to go to for the money, shouldn't it be the general fund that we?
That's what. Yeah.
That's what's my question.
I think we're saying the same thing here.
Okay, all right, good.
And let me add, too, that even though the council has a deadline to approve a balanced budget, that budget isn't set in stone.
Okay.
We amend it throughout the year as needs arise that we weren't aware of. So the important thing is when your request for an app is prepared with all of its backup information, then ask. I'm not sure where it would go, but
Well, we'll get together with Rhonda.
Well, it would
Yeah,
eventually go to the council, but.
Well, and again, I'm operating here from a certain level of ignorance because I'm not completely up to date on everything and the thought and the concept here. But I think what I was hearing when we spoke a little bit after a recent meeting, it sounded like that was more of like a marketing tourism type thing, which is fine. And so I know that the city was looking at some other similar type things like that. I mean, if the city was going to do something like that, you would think it would be a city application.
Yeah.
Sure.
However, having said that, much like we did with the website, maybe you end up in a situation where it's something that maybe the whole city doesn't want to do, but it's something that the Arts Commission wants to do and has some money under its control, for lack of a better, that you could go forward with the project and get approval for.
Okay,
So,
when I spoke a little bit with Carlin and with Paul.
but that would be going through the budget process here,
Right,
like the
okay.
chair described, right?
Okay, so if I'm understanding, the correct procedure would be to get our ducks in the row and then take it to city council? Or should we talk to Rhonda? I'm getting mixed messages.
Well, I don't think there's any one path for these
Okay.
things. I mean, I don't want to, I hesitate to put anything in a box. I mean, any member of the public could walk up at any council meeting and say, I have this great idea.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a great idea, and the council says, that's wonderful, we want to hear more of it, and they put it on the next agenda, and they vote on it, and they fund it.
Yeah,
Or they might say, thank you very much, and
Yeah.
have a nice day.
Yeah.
So, or it could be something, like, for example, like when the Arts Commission did its website, you wanted to have control and have your own
Right.
domain name and all that, and so that was something that was done,
In
under
tandem.
the Arts Commission
Yeah.
and through its budget, and continues to be supported minimally through the Arts Commission budget.
okay,
Does that help?
sort of.
Okay, and I would encourage you to talk with Rhonda, just
Okay.
because she's done a lot of research on that.
Rhonda.
But I don't want to spend a bunch of time on this. I mean, it almost sounds like this could be a type of thing where you might want to get a lot of different partners and players involved. I mean, if it benefits the,
So,
the
okay.
tourism and chamber, downtown merchants, et cetera.
Okay.
So,
All right, thanks.
does that
So
help?
the bottom line is, when all the ducks are in a row, I like that, I haven't heard that for a while. When all the ducks are in a row, when you have your program outlined and it suits you, if it includes a joint venture, fine, you still have to obtain the consent of all the parties involved. So when it's ready, then at that point, ask that it be placed on an agenda. It's a thing in my cheek. You can call me direct. I'm in the phone book. And if you're ready for it to be placed on the agenda, I can have it placed on the agenda because, as long as I'm mayor.
Right.
Outside of that, it would take 2 council members. But when you're ready,
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Anyone else on anything with budget? Okay. Then let us go for commissioner comments. Heather, have any comments you want to make tonight? No? Roger?
I just wanted you to repeat when the city council was looking at the budget, and you were suggesting it'd be good for us to be there.
May 27th.
Thank you, Roger. I appreciate anybody who's out there that can help.
Nothing for me.
Okay, nothing from Barbara. Linda, any comments? Michael?
No.
Okay, I only have one comment, and that is that there was a reception tonight to introduce Julie Mino, who is the new Director of Development and Marketing for the Libby Bowl Foundation. And if the pleasure of the Arts Commission is such, it might be nice to invite Julie to one of our meetings and have a little conversation with her and get to know who she is. Is that something that you would all be interested in?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so Steve, I'll talk with you about that too, maybe when we meet, about all the other stuff. Okay. Carlin, thank you for being here. I mean, it really was a little stressful, but you helped a lot. Thank you.
and I don't think I have anything specific to report to you that, specific for the Arts Commission. Our minds and hearts are turning toward the budget. And like I said, the council established a policy that we would not take up a new item after 10:30. We had a special meeting at 6 o'clock. We started our regular meeting at 7 o'clock. At 10:30, we still had not made it to the budget discussion. So, the workshop probably and the city manager's presentation will take place on the 27th. But other than that, unless you have questions for me.
Send an
I
email.
have one question regarding the budget. If you were to try and describe the city budget that is now going to be dealt with in one word, would you describe it as healthy or unhealthy?
Healthy.
Good, thank you.
That's good to hear.
Especially if you consider so many cities that have filed bankruptcy, et cetera, et cetera. We have a balanced budget, we have reserves, and we have kind of manipulated those, I can't, this thing here. We have
Stop chewing
manipulated.
tobacco at these meetings.
We have manipulated a little bit because of some needs, but our budget is healthy. We have started setting aside funds for capital improvement projects, specifically our streets and road. And if we weren't pretty healthy, we wouldn't be able to do that. We have a 5-year plan, so we're good. Of course, we're still not going to be able to get everything done right now. I mean, even our streets and roads, even though we're setting aside like 300,000 one year and 400 the next and blah, blah, blah. Even though that sounds like a lot of money, it isn't as far as street, roads, infrastructure is concerned. But it's a beginning. And so just that, to me, lets me know that our budget is healthier. Otherwise, we would still be deferring it. We would still be deferring it.
Thank you.
So I'd say healthy.
Move to adjourn.
Christine? Oh.
Hang on a minute. Okay. That's it, Carly? Okay. Steve?
I have nothing further to report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, then we shall adjourn the meeting. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Are our mics still on? I should have said this during the meeting. But you are always welcome if you want to know the state of the city financially, the direction we're going. You're welcome to attend those budget meetings. They get a little boring